200 kilometer behind enemy lines, it was nothing. We had to go cross-border operations, very, very deep penetrations and very, very far.
In the Cold War, a hotbed of unusual combat techniques and innovative equipment had a surprising origin. It wasn't the US Special Forces, the British SAS, or even the Russian Spetsnaz. It was all the way in South Africa. The South African Special Forces, known as Recces for their operations deep behind enemy lines, needed to be cunning, effective, and crafty with limited resources. Recces rely heavily on stealth, navigation, and endurance to complete their missions, often traveling hundreds of kilometers through harsh terrain. Many of their tactics were adopted by Tier 1 special forces around the world, who would need them for the onslaught of insurgent-driven conflicts in the global war on terror decades later. During the border conflicts, one man among many legends in the Recces had a lasting legacy for his revolutionary webbing design. His name is Johann Niemoller.
What do you do if you're 200 kilometer, 100 and something miles into enemy? No, that was nothing. That was a very shallow infiltration. If you walk one day wrong, you have to spend 45 kilometers of energy fixing the wrong route that you took. The special forces were trained and put through a hell of a tough special forces selection process to see who's got the ability to mind over matter. And when you walk through that door and you make the decision, you must do it with conviction and that you will survive, and the fight is on. No helicopters coming to pick you up, no rescue team. You are the rescue team. They called me in. They said, Johann, we're going to drop you off on the Tanzanian border. The Tanzanian border, almost Mozambique. And you're going to select the top 200 Renamo fighters and you're going to walk them back to South Africa. Now, that was 1,500 kilometers. Started walking. It took me 4 months. It's like walking out of that door where you're sitting and decide you're going to walk to Los Angeles or someplace.
While South Africa was renowned for its innovation in webbing and equipment, Recce units had to refrain from using any gear that could point back to South Africa should they be killed or captured on a mission.
Nothing must be South African identifiable. So most of it was English and European old type webbings with a belt, and you would all the attachments on it, and it's just a yoke and you put it over your shoulder and off you go. So it wasn't meant for long, super long distance walking. It was irritable, it was metal attachments and so on. And when I climbed over the border, half of my kit and half of my clothing were repaired by radio copper wire seam stitching.
Johann saw firsthand that existing gear would not keep up with the demands of the bush. Determined to find a solution, and in the true spirit of South Africa's adaptability during the Cold War, he took matters into his own hands.
I went to Cape Town and bought a walking foot sewing machine, and I put the sewing machine into my bungalow room, bought the webbing from all over and started making the first and the second and the third and the fourth. And very soon I had to make for almost everybody in Special Forces this purposely designed webbing. And that's where it started. It came out of necessity, and it came out of desperation, rather desperation.
Careful consideration went into the details of the webbing, from the placement of each pocket down to the choice of buckles.
You must be able to paint your webbing, wash your webbing. No, don't have to change buckles all the time. The buckle must be everlasting. No rust, no corrosion, easy to assemble, never break, and must be able to open with a single hand with 2 fingers. The pouch must secure You can't tie everything down with rope. The pouch must be made to secure it and never to lose it. It mustn't be too loose, it mustn't be too tight. It must fit in easily. You mustn't struggle to get it in. You don't want to open it with one hand and hold the flip open so that you can put a lighter in. It must go in easily.
The result was an iconic and highly effective kit that became a staple for South African Special Forces. Built from scratch in a bungalow room, Johann's creation redefined bush warfare gear, offering durability, adaptability, and the stealth needed to navigate and survive the unforgiving African terrain.
The other webbings would block your movement. And so this webbing was designed to be able to move, roll, crawl, kneel, all positions. And then we had these massive backpacks. If you would go into deep infiltration reconnaissance missions, 50 kilograms, 60 kilograms, 70 kilograms was nothing. You must be able to feel and get to all the kit that you need. It mustn't interfere with your mobility, and if you lie on the ground and you crawl, in a firefight you crawl 100 meters easily. Shots are fired, they're on you, and it's the last train in the station. You dump your kit and you start running.
While the Special Forces were always prepared for a fight, missions could dictate that escape with valuable intel was of higher priority than the elimination of enemy forces.
The average soldier in those days from any country would never have more than 10 or 15 kilograms with him. He's got a support force. He's been followed by helicopters. He's been followed by trucks. So he can follow you lightly. He can follow you with speed. He can run on your track. So when you dump your backpack and you have to run away, you have to be mobile. And you have to swim through rivers, and you have to run away at all cost and survive. And so the webbing was designed to carry 15, 16 kilogram, if you push it, of the essentials on your hips, because when you dump your backpack, you're in trouble.
The design was so well received that the government requested to mass produce the rig for other branches of the military.
And the first thing that the generals would look on is, how much is it going to cost if I want to equip my army with this webbing? So they would then take it and give it to local manufacturers. You would see Parachute Battalion had a version that was derived from the Niemoller webbing, but much cheaper to make. But as soon as the military bureaucracy got hold of it, it became completely something different. As soon as you see that yoke with a belt and various changes to it, it was a government that took it and gave it to the military corporations and says, make us a simpler version, make us a cheaper version. That's where all of these different models came from.
For this reason, authentic Niemoller webbing can be extremely tough to find. The original design has been adopted and altered for decades, with most versions on the market today missing key details that made Johann's creation so effective in the field. That's why we're excited to announce that, in collaboration with Johann Niemoller himself, KommandoStore will be producing a faithful recreation of the original Niemoller webbing in South Africa. Together, we're bringing back the rugged durability, strategic design, and attention to detail that defined this iconic gear, ensuring that each piece is built to perform in the toughest environments, just as Johann intended.
I never in my life would I have thought I'll have a conversation with KommandoStore on a Friday afternoon on webbing that was made 30 years ago. It's fantastic to know that there is a shop like KommandoStore. You're not a clothing shop. You sell a life, a history. KommandoStore is a shop for men.
We want to thank Johann for taking the time to work with us. None of this could have been possible without him. You can head to our site today and check out this reborn piece of historical unobtainium made with the supervision of the very legend it gets its name from. Head to commandostore.com for more information and pre-order your rig today.
And I never thought I would ever make webbing. I didn't even give it the Niemoller name. It just, when I left Special Forces, became the Niemoller because everybody says, go get me a Niemoller this, get me a Niemoller pistol bag, go get me a Niemoller 301 medical bag. And somehow the army, it became just folklore as to describe what they want. It was just a unique position to be in and to contribute to so many fellow soldiers all over the world.
'Cause the sweetest kiss I ever got is the one I've never tasted. Oh, but they'll take their bonus pay to Molly McDonald, neon lady, beauty's that which obeys, is bought or borrowed.